Hello YouTube, Ronan Kazi here. Uh, One of the viewers recently wanted a more in-depth idea about my build. So this isn't the build I use all the time. This is my kind of mainstay DPS tech build. And so let's take a look at it. Probably the key points in this are these two pieces here. So the holster is the waveform. And the waveform, I haven't even taken the time to optimize these. The waveform oscillates and you get a skill bonus there. Momentum is on the chest piece and it oscillates and you get a skill bonus there. And on the backpack, it's perfect shock and all. If you apply a status effect, you get a 20% skill damage and repair for 27 seconds. So that's kind of that part of the build. I have a couple pieces of Werven. And really, I think I have a couple of Hannahs, however you say it. And I mainly got that for this plus skill damage. And so I didn't really have an idea for this piece here. This is kind of throw-in piece. Because I don't really necessarily need the status effects. It's kind of not needed in this build. But it's just kind of an offshoot of having two of those pieces. And the China Light's good for explosive damage. So I try to run that on my backpacks almost all the time. So whether it's my status build or my DPS build, I'm always running in case I want to throw out some seekers. And you can kind of see I have skill haste put on all this stuff as well. So I'm trying to have a decent skill haste. Let's see, on my one build, EMP pulse is every 13.2, this is 14.8. So this is a pretty decent speed. This is the build I ran in the video, and what happened was I started with my normal build and folks were running similar to what I do. They had like jammer and one guy had the stun. So I got out of that. Actually, we wiped on the very beginning, and we had a person run up to the front inside the doorway going to the next level when the thing wasn't complete. He wiped, and that just cascaded us down. The players that were playing with me weren't that high. They were like 500, 900 or something. They're okay. But they had an idea what they're doing. So I went full DPS. And I've seen the damage with the Hive Artificer. It does a lot. And this is kind of the stats that it gives you. Let me see. So it's buffs. It gives you this this bonus. Excuse me. Your bonus to all your damage and everything. So it's pretty good. It's I use it on my tank build. It's this efficiency is what kind of gives you the boost here. And you see at the end, you're pretty topped out. So this is kind of the build. The philosophy, you'll see on 3 of the pieces, I have this armor regen. I could roll an armor regen there and armor regen there. You know, part of the thing that I'm always trying to do is build a setup where I can maintain myself. And with my my turrets up to level 20% on the expertise. So this is kind of the build I was using. Just wanted to go over it. And if you have more questions, obviously I need to use the the Scorpio. So this is kind of what happens. I use a Scorpio. You'll see that it causes this 20% increase for 27 seconds. I switch over then to the test subject then. And these two have been going. And at that point, I'm generating, a lot of tech damage. Thank you. Hello, YouTube. This is part 2 of this video. Running Legendary District Union Arena. Going to go over some of the strategy. In the first part, I went over what this build is. This is my DPS tech build. And I had to run that. I didn't have to run it, but a couple of folks in here were using a status effect build, so I figured we needed a DPS. We originally had a higher level person come in the group, ran 4, got smoked, and then we wiped. So I changed my build. We got this SAS guy, and it's a really great group. And we just wiped on the boss. What happened when we wiped on the boss on this last part is the boss spawns with a couple people. You've got to kill all the ads first before you worry about the boss, and you can't worry about the boss. Also, you've heard me talk before in District Union, you got to do this kind of sweep to the right and push everything back to that opposite end that you're looking at right now. And so what's a little bit different about this build is I just got my turret and I got an artificer, so the turret stays up for forever. It does more damage. And we really cut through this stuff like crazy. So it's not all me. I'm in a great team. But that's if you got someone that's doing that. And I put it out there if other people threw their skills, whatever. But I'm just trying to deliver the most skill damage I can do. And so we talked about in District Union, I've shown you a bunch of videos where you know how much DPS is. We have a lot of DPS, and the golden bullet stuff helps, but the other thing that happens, sometimes it's uneven, so sometimes we'd get pushed a little bit, but for the most part, we really went through here with no problems at all. Now, the thing I was going to worry about a little bit on this is, in the boss, breaking his backpack, but, and so you can see everything's on that end. There's no guys sneaking around to the right. They're a really great group of people to run with. And as I told you before, it's probably a mistake if I'm getting the golden bullet because I shouldn't be getting it. So at this point, I think we've cleared pretty much everyone out. And once I'm sure we've cleared that out, I'll switch. In the old days, Razorback, or Diamondback, I call it Razorback, my dunks. In the old days, Diamondback would break weak points. Now it's out of habit. I'm hoping for something to happen on that backpack. Then eventually I'll switch to the Firefly. We're about halfway done with the video, so we're gonna get it here pretty soon. And you can kind of see with this build, I really need the status effects. It gives me an extra 20%. Then I'd switch to test subject so I do more damage. But I'm not worried about doing damage right now because we got to break his backpack. So I'm just letting that run its course. See a little status, it goes up to 316. But that's worthless damage. That is like, padding your stats kind of damage. I think I've also mentioned this to you before. Someone told me when you see his backpack smoking, that's good. That means you're making some headway on doing that. And the other thing, once you break that backpack, he doesn't do his AoE. So it's kind of twofold. Again, sometimes the hardest part of District Union is really the first part. And I've talked to you about those kind of things before. But let's talk a little bit more about the build. So really the way to turn the build on is, right, you use Scorpio, which causes status effect, which gives you the extra 20% for 27 seconds. You then switch over to test subject, and when you have two skills, it helps the oscillation and it goes up. In this case, I have the artificer, so I was putting out a lot of damage. But that's basically it. And you want to have a couple of different builds so you can add some value to the group. I'm trying to do a DPS weapon build, and I talked to one of the commenters on the videos. There's a gentleman or person, Rich, and I were talking about that, and he's like, you can do any weapon build, and there's a lot of them out there. And there is. It's just not my play style. I just also recently started a hardcore character, and so I guess that's a mode if you have a slot open. It's a mode where, you can't die. You die and you lose your character. So I deleted one of my characters and started running that character a little bit. That's interesting to me. But I imagine my play style is pretty similar in both. It's not a big leap for me. Like, I'm not up forward. You can see I'm a back row player. I'm going to be using skills. So that kind of mode appeals to me. I'm not an in-the-face person. So that's why it's hard for me to get a DPS weapon, DPS build that I like, because I'm always worried about survivability. And in the first part of this video, I have 3 pieces rolled. I used to roll every single piece with the armor regen, so at the end you'd have like close to between 25 and 30,000 armor regen a second. And on legendaries, it doesn't make a ton of sense. It just keeps you off the 0. But, they do so much damage that you really, I think games in the last, 20 years really favor that you're using DPS. So I'm switching to I think my turret ran out. And so I start chucking these. That was a poor attempt by me. And the other thing I found in these, if you switch to too many of these skills and not DPS skills, once you do break his armor, you still need to put DPS again. So I'm going to switch back over. Look at that. Was what a great catch of all those bullets I did. And it's close. It should be pretty soon. I'm trying to help his hive. And there, it's gone. So when that comes up, I'll throw out a turret. And I think I get up to 388,000 on the turret, which is pretty good for me. I'm sure there's other people that are much better at this. I haven't optimized all the pieces in this build because I'm playing that other build. But that's kind of the idea. It's not just the pieces in the builds. It's what you do with it and how you play. For one thing, when I come in here, you saw where I placed my turret. I always put my turret there because I'm going to be fighting people elevated on this end where I'm coming from. And then it kind of protects this whole flank where they're going to come from. I keep screwing this person over and going where they want to hide. Sorry, person. So I get Scorpio back. I'm going to start it up here. So I got a status effect on him, and then I switch to test subject. And so you see there's over 300,000. And I think someone in there has that extra 10% where they put the badger face on him. You see it over here when he goes more to my left. 388s there. There's some more red 388s. So it's a good build. It's super powerful. Like when I really can't get through anything, I always throw on this build, and I usually get through. So thanks again. Thank you everyone that's watching and subscribing. I really appreciate it, and I hope to give you more videos. Thanks. Have a good one.